What is going on, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you. A little tight on the face today. That's okay. I can see your guys' chat so well because I've got a little TV set up instead of the monitor. So that's so nice. I can read everything you're saying. What's up, everybody? Today's going to be a great topic. Today's going to be a great topic. I think for all of time and eternity, people have been confused about their emotions and how they feel and how to navigate them. And so I would love to dive into these today. Emotions used to really run my life. And I'll be 100% honest with you. I had no emotional regulation. I was not taught how to feel my feelings healthily. And I thought that a lot of my emotions were actually wrong to have. So not only do people feel as if they're having the feeling of what they're going through, but also they feel that their emotion that they're feeling is wrong, which I think adds a whole nother layer of everything. So I just wanted to talk about it today. And how I think I've also stepped out of that place of just an emotional mindset and really trying to ground yourself. Because if you do make decisions in your emotions, you are doing yourself a disservice. And we'll get into all of that today. So I think emotions are one of the most, I guess, misunderstood things about human beings. And we're not taught this in school. It's a big beef for me. I don't know why this is not a conversation that is being had in our younger years, almost as part of a curriculum to understand your feelings, because we're not taught how, like, that we mostly all have the same kind of feelings in different ways. So I think it's insane to teach us everything but how to kind of understand that we are emotional creatures. It's good to see you guys. Appreciate you being here. So number one discussion is, are emotions reliable? Do you guys think that emotions really tell the truth, or do you think that they lie to us? Now, this is where it's going to take some time to learn yourself. You have to learn yourself. You have to learn your feelings, and you have to understand and identify feelings. That's the number one thing that I would say that I had to do is, and a way I did it, honestly, is just sitting with it for a second. You sit with it. How do I feel? What am I going through right now? Am I a mixture of something? Can I have two emotions at once? Am I angry and sad? And I think that's where it's like okay to just give yourself a minute to be like, let me think for a second. How do I feel? How do I feel? Um, you know, I think a lot of times we also have protectors. And this is something my therapist taught me is emotions can run so high, and then you have this thing that tries to come in and protect your brain and protect you from having a physical reaction, so an anxiety attack or something. And so we actually have like numbing factors. We have anger can cover up sadness, lots of other things. Sadness can be a cover for anger. Like, you don't have exactly a perfect way. That's why this is going to be a little bit complicated, but I think you guys will understand what I'm getting at. Oh, I love that, Emmy. That's a perfect way to say it. That's exactly the truth that we have to get to, is that you feel a way. Okay, we can validate that, but that doesn't change facts of situations or things like that. That's a whole other discussion, but it's a great point, and it's something that we could definitely get into as well. So I'm going to go into fear first. So fear has a protection aspect. Fear can also convince us of something that is dangerous when it isn't. So again, if you have a fear, it's literally in there telling you, I'm in danger. This is what I always talk about with you guys with anxiety. Anxiety has this way of hijacking everything about you. You are no longer normal anymore. You are panicking. And you are now telling yourself, I'm in danger. Something's bad is happening, and your brain is on red alert. Sadness can also like reflect a real loss. So you have fear, sadness, and sadness can also make you believe that nothing will ever get better. Now, what happens when it's all of that? What happens when you have fear, sadness, anger? Guess what? All of that can exist at once. And you're just kind of like, if you were to lay all it out on a table, you just pulled everything out, put it on a table, and you could say, I'm scared. And I honestly felt this way too, especially in like 2020 and all the time too. I was afraid. I was angry. There was an injustice. There was loss. There was life's never going to get better. There was depression. Try putting that all in a pot and tell me you can deal with that. Nobody should, but we all do that in our lives anyway. And so I think what the best thing is to do is compartmentalize the best you can with these emotions. If you can identify how you feel and then understand that you're feeling all of it at once and it's just swaying back and forth, it's almost the number one step you have to take to start being emotionally regulated. One thing I will tell you, growing up, I did not see that in my mom, Lori. And that is probably one of the main reasons, is that you really do learn things from your parents. But I always felt like my emotions were bad. So I always felt like, don't, even if I felt, especially with anger, if I ever felt angry, I felt like that was actually really wrong to feel angry. Like, you shouldn't ever be angry, which is really crazy thing to think now, that you wouldn't allow yourself to have anger. The difference is, what do you do with these emotions? How do you healthily process what you're going through without destroying relationships or saying something? And we're all human beings, so we're all going to screw up. But do we have the ability to filter out? And a great example, again, therapist said this as well. If you have a ton of things going on in your life, it's like a dam wall with a bunch of water, and you got to let pressure out slowly. You got to it's not all at once. You start dissecting how you feel. So if you feel afraid, trace the thought, why am I afraid? Why am I afraid? And then you start to identify. And this is great. I'm a pen to paper person. So I have a notebook right here. Like, I just bought this notebook. I mean, it's not super full, but it's got it's just got all my stuff in it, my notes. And it's just something really powerful about actually tracing stuff out. Like, it's not that hard. It's just that if you take the time to do it, you would be baffled by the results. And I had this thing where I drew a graph. I'm going to show you. I'm just going to draw it for you if I even can find a pen over here. Okay, so I did this. I think this is a great example. So I drew this out. I drew out me. Look at this. Look at this whiteboard presentation. Welcome to class. I drew out this. This was me. And then I drew circles like this that were all connecting. And then after I got done with that, I started drawing where I think they interlap. And I started doing this to realize that this is how I feel. It was that simple for me. And I actually did it from my therapist from the first session I was going in to see my therapist. And it was my first therapist, not my one I have now that I've been with for years. But she was a trauma therapist. And I just felt like this was the only way I could try to explain to her how I felt in the moment. And I wrote all those things: fear, anger, doubt, worthlessness, all the things I felt. And I put it all in this. And then that was and then I showed myself a graph of how, and I handed it to her. And I just told her, this is how I feel. And it's a cluster F of emotions. And I can't even filter through it. But this is all, like, I feel angry and sadness, and these two. And then I was very detailed, and I drew another circle down as to reasons why. So then I wrote family situation, this situation, and I put it all in one place. And it just, for some reason, just kind of broke it down to a point where you feel as if, I'm not afraid of my emotions anymore. At least there's something out there. And then you're trusting someone to help you. And so that kind of graph really helped me. It's just pen to paper. And it took me, I don't know, 15 minutes to do that, if that. And I just sat with myself. And you can listen to music. You could be doing something you love. I think about stuff at the gym, which is probably why I look crazy, because I kind of let the steam out at the gym. That's one of my main coping mechanisms, is to go work out. And so when I drew that graph, though, it allows you to stop having all of it at once. Why do I have a pen? It stops you to have all of that. What's the word? It's just the best word is overwhelmed. Of course you're overwhelmed, and you're like, I know I have all these feelings, but I can't do anything about it. And that's where we have to start being a filter for ourselves. Just identify and then go from there. Let's get into why people avoid their emotions. Oh my gosh. People say they're painful, they make us vulnerable, and we weren't taught how to deal with them. Let's get into it. So number one, if your parent did not teach you how to do it, or you did not have healthy adults in your life, you are by yourself. And it's just an unbelievable truth. It's not fair. You didn't deserve that. But if your parents did not know how to do it, then, you really do have to learn on your own. I commend all the healthy parents that work on it and teach their kids how to filter through their feelings, because kids feel so much pain so much stuff too at a high level, and they can't even comprehend it at all. So, but yeah, let's get into that first of all. First of all, they're painful. Yeah, they're painful. They are. That's probably the number one thing I see. And I'm just going to be very blunt because it's just easier to do it that way. I see people who, especially younger people, drowning their emotions in substances or a lifestyle, or if I make enough money, I'll be this. Like you're going to run around the problem forever. It's almost like Lori answering a question. It's a dance around the bush. You're not ever getting to it. It's going to be painful for like a fraction of the time you think it would. So let's start there. Your emotions, facing what you need to face, is going to be painful, but it is also, like we talked about with 127 hours, some things just have to break. That is it. It is just there is it's again, go through the mountain. It's not around the mountain, it's over the mountain. You got to go up and then to go down. Like it sucks. So that's your first step. It's your first step. But again, people always think like, oh my gosh, if I face this, then I have to do the whole thing. It's like, no, you just, how do you get up a mountain? One step at a time, one step at a time. It's not all at once, but that's how we feel because we're overwhelmed anyway. So they're painful. And then that's the avoidance. I don't want to feel that. Of course, I don't want to cry. I don't want to feel it. And that's why you should allow yourself to cry, especially men. Please just let yourself have the moments when you need it. There is nothing wrong with that. What is that? Who said it's not okay to cry? Who made that up? Oh, that's a weakness. Okay, sir, let me be very strong for you and pretend I'm not going to filter it out. I genuinely think crying is almost one of the most important things you could explain to someone, that you are genuinely like getting something out. Your body's physically releasing it. And that's what most people are looking for anyway, is a relief. So people, you can tell me, and I know everybody's had this experience. Once you cry, you feel better later. Not perfect, but you let it out a little bit. Like there's a little bit at a time. And people think it's so overwhelming, and it's just not. It's okay to feel those things. You feel it anyway. That's the bullshit anyway. Sorry, that's my cuss of the day. I'm going to say it again then. It's bullshit to say, I don't feel, I'm not going to allow that. I'm too tough. I'm too masculine. I'm too, or I'm too hard. I'm a dog. I got a dog in me. Okay, you can have a dog, but dogs cry. Okay. Real people cry. We all cry. Just like, let it happen. Let it happen. And there obviously there's an extreme to everything. If people always cry about every little thing, that's also the extreme on the opposite of what you would want, because now you're almost in a manipulative state to always cry about absolutely everything. So that's the point. You have to allow yourself to feel the feeling, number one. And yes, they're painful. And then they make you vulnerable. And that's the hardest part. Being vulnerable is very, very hard. It's very hard. It's not fun. Nobody enjoys it. In this way, when the feelings make you open up. But again, therapy helps you with that, because you do have to be vulnerable, and you do have to open yourself up to the idea that someone's going to hear your feelings and your thoughts. But then I think people think, I'm going to be judged. This therapist is going to go home and go, honey, you wouldn't believe the psychopath that I talked to today. This mother fricker did this. It's like, we just paint pictures in our head. We're all in our head. I know everybody is. No matter how expressive you are, no matter how much of a people person you are, even if you're not an introvert, you always are in your head. So that's number one. But allow yourself to go through a season. And that's another thing I want to say that I didn't even write down for this video, but allow yourself to live the season that's in front of you, because it's important and it's going to pass. It is going to change. That's why I think God named it a season, because it will change. And that's the point. You just have to allow it to happen. I mean, what can you do? Can you stop summer? Can you stop winter? No. Unless you're freaking Elsa, you're not doing nothing to the summer. Okay. So, and you don't have to cry. I think it's another point. Let's put this out here. You don't have to cry, but the people, and I'm not saying this is you, but I'm going to say this in general. People have been taught by generation or parents or whatever the case is to not have tears, to not, I've heard it all the time. Don't cry. Don't cry. Don't do this. And it's like, I just don't understand that. I just don't like it, because you know what? It probably doesn't make them uncomfortable. The person who tells you not to cry is uncomfortable with you crying. Because why? Because they don't know how to be vulnerable. And so they just kind of say, oh, well, don't cry. But you don't have to. That doesn't mean that crying has to be the emotion. I was just giving that as an example because that's the number one thing people avoid is crying. I don't know why, but it's like the number one thing. And then we're not taught how to deal with them. Bingo. Okay. Curry with the shot. Yes. We're not taught how to deal with our feelings. What the frick is that? Where is the course? Do I need to make an emotion course of things I've learned and just get it on a piece of paper so at least it's out there? Because it just bothers me to death that like we're not taught how to deal with it. So let's this level with each other. You obviously have felt sadness, anger, happiness, jealousy, shame, guilt, loneliness, anxiety, fear, worry, doubt, grief, all of that. We've all felt those things. So we're having a very similar experience with different circumstances, right? It's very different how we grew up, what we experienced. But we're all feeling the same kinds of things. It's to me, it's like we all bleed the same blood, same color. It's just maybe one's negative or positive does, but it's the same essence. And so the point is to not learn how to deal with these things is an injustice. It really truly is, because these feelings are causing people to do what they do. Feelings do sway human beings into crime. They sway them into they call it a crime of passion. Okay. Even what's her name? SZA has a whole song called Kill Bill. Like, I don't know why she made that song. I'm really not understanding that. But the point being that the feelings really are like they become action. Let's put it that way. You know, they become action. And I think that that's the biggest problem is people don't understand that this stuff messes with you. Why in the world would you go to a doctor for your health and think your mental health does not also need some kind of physician or helping? I don't know. I want to say that out there. I just want to put that out there. Like, think about that for a minute. Let me know what you think about it. But I just don't understand why people are so like against the mental health. It's real. You do have a mental health. You do. So like, let's just address it. Let's stop pretending that it doesn't exist. I don't know. Emily says, you're making me think of the episode of Friends, the one where Chandler can't cry, then he does. And he says what literally everyone was thinking. Exactly. And that's the point. Remember, Chandler had the upbringing of not crying ever and being emotionless. And they're like, what's wrong with you? Because he was just bottled up. He was bottled up. Everyone effing cries. And this is the problem. I showed you guys the video with Patty the Batty from the UFC talking about how one of his close friends committed suicide. He said, I'd rather you cry on my shoulder. He gives me goosebumps every time. I don't know why. It's just so powerful. It's such a powerful message. But I would rather have my friend on my shoulder crying in my arms than go and have to go to his funeral. I mean, every time I say it or hear it, it gives me full body goosebumps because that's how everybody feels. We all feel that way. I would rather be for you, but we're not normalizing it. So like, that's why I think people do take their lives, is it's not a normal thing. And then you're just so overwhelmed with feelings, emotions, circumstances, and pressures, and you're never venting it out until you get to a place where you feel that you're too far gone and no one understands you and the world will be better for you. Do you know that there's almost a script when people are suicidal? It's almost like they're reading a script to themselves. It blows my mind because everybody almost feels the exact same type of things. I don't understand it, but that's how it is. It's like, world's better off. I'm better off. I can't take this anymore. I'll never get better. I'm worthless. No one's going to miss me. No one's going to think about me when I'm gone. It's not going to change anything. It's the same script. And the point being, why do they feel that way? Regardless of circumstances or not, it's their emotions. It's their emotional states, their mental health. That's the point. It's a mental health problem. It's not it could be a physical problem feeding into it. We have to acknowledge that. There could be physical ailment. There could be, other things, but mental health needs attention. So let's put it out there. Okay. Now let's go through each one of these emotions. What is the hardest emotion to feel? Jealousy, anger. For me, it's anger. I don't know why anger is it's the thing I've spent my whole life almost shunning out. Like, don't be angry, because I don't know. I don't know why. I just felt like from a young age, being angry almost felt wrong. It's like the most It's like it's not, the word violent is not fair because it's not, you don't, it's just not like you do something violent, but it in it of itself just feels so, for me, just overwhelming, because it's like, how do you healthily have an anger? How do you vent that out? And so anger for me, and I also had to learn just because of the way that anger was dealt with, just emotions in general growing up. But, you know, anger was the thing I think I swallowed the most with Lori growing up. And so I just, I had to figure out a way to vent it out. That's how I was. I had to find a way to deal with myself. And honestly, I became a runner and then I started working out, started doing sports. Like I figured it out. But yeah, you have to kind of get to a point where you have to figure out what works for you, number one. Shame is probably, to me, also the hardest one. I think most people who feel shame, we did a whole video breakdown on shame. And if you haven't seen that, I think it's really interesting for you to watch because it is, shame is a state of being. It's not like a healthy thing. It's not like something that gets you better. It's almost like a state, like I am bad. I am horrible. I am worthless. And, like, shame is a big factor in a lot of people who take their life. And some people feel ashamed that they feel that way. You see the cycle. So now you feel bad. You feel like you might, you don't know if you can handle this anymore. And then all of a sudden you're at a point where you're ashamed that you feel that way. And now you don't want to open up. And then, like, again, maybe you feel like the first person you want to talk to is a parent, but they never showed you that emotion. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just this cycle. You can just see inside of it, you know? You can see inside of it. And then there's guilt, anxiety, loneliness, and grief. Loneliness is another big one. It's huge, actually. Let's sit with loneliness for a second. Loneliness, to me, really does, loneliness is hard because you just, what's the word? You're just, that's the isolation of connection, and we are meant to connect as humans. We are meant to have a connection with people. And so to have us feel lonely, again, is another number one isolating thing for people who also take their lives. They feel all of those things at once. And that's, again, let's go back to it just to kind of end that part of the segment. But heartbreak, that kind of thing is always intermixed. Always. It's always multiple. Always multiple. That's the problem. That's why it's complex. You're not just feeling one thing. You're feeling maybe all of that at once. And then how do you filter that? That's the point. We have to learn how to filter it. And that's what I'm trying to say for us today is we have to learn how the best way is that we deal with our feelings. Some people need talk therapy. Some people need to have a conversation and have someone to bounce off their feelings with, and have, this connection with someone. Some people really do work through their feelings in other ways. Some people need time in nature. Some people just need a good workout. I'm not saying that you can't have talking, but if you have a partner that you can talk to, like if you have a person that you trust that you can talk that stuff to, then do that. Like whatever it is for you. But what I'm trying to, I guess, challenge us all today to do is really start to pull it all out, put it on the table, and let's work through it. It's not as scary as you think. And I hate that people feel like they're not even allowed to because how they were raised, and how, or maybe their partner is really void of emotions. You can't force other people to feel, but you know that if they've gotten really good at ignoring it, that's on them, not on you. You have to figure out how it's okay to feel your feelings. And I just don't understand. One of my favorite albums is Damn by Kendrick Lamar. And it came out in 2017, and it didn't hit me until like 24 or 5 when I listened to the lyrics. Like the songs, you replay the music, and he is so expressive. If you listen, it's not even funny. I'm gonna read this. Give me one second. But it's interesting because artists do the same thing, and people say, they can understand, they see a painting and they see the emotion and the feeling, and there's something there, and it's expressive, and there's something that goes beyond the bound of speaking and expression. So we're all emotional beings and creatures. God made us that way. And so let's accept that. Let's just stop pretending that like we're not. The only people who have a real struggle with that kind of stuff are people who are on like the sociopath and the psychopath spectrum of void of a lot of those feelings. But I mean, even other things you don't know. Like I'm not a psychologist. I'm just saying from what I know. But like people even who are, autistic, like they don't process emotions the same, but I think we all have them. Um, it's just how do you process it? And I think the number one goal is to compartmentalize them the best you can and start to be okay with the fact that they're not as scary as they are made to be, and don't avoid them. You're not going to get anywhere avoiding them. You know, I always bring up this line because it's such a great line, but there's a line in a song with his name's Nate, but it's not Nate Eaton. He's not spitting bars. It's NF. NF. He has a song where he says something that you hold under the water and then it pops up like an evil surprise because you think that it died, something of that nature. I probably screwed that lyric up. But regardless, it's a great metaphor of an understanding that there's certain things you think you can drown and bury that just stick with you. And it's just the elephant in the room. And it's really important to understand that it's not going to go anywhere, no matter how much time. Oh, time heals all wounds. Douche. That's what I say to that. See this? This doesn't heal you. Because this is clock and ticking. It's not going to heal you. Not to say that it doesn't get better over time, but you're just more distant from the event. Like, especially if it caused you real trauma, it's okay to say that thing still kind of makes me feel a certain type of way. But don't just distance yourself from it and think, I'm so much better off now. No, it's okay to not be. Like, not to say that you won't start to move on or learn to cope with it, but certain events in your life are just they're life-changing. That's why the word's there. Life-changing events. I'm putting on my wrist or my watch because I forgot it. But it doesn't change if you just avoid it. And I think men are known for this. It's not just a man thing, but men are known to avoid their emotions at all costs. And if you see someone who is the most busy bee on the planet Earth, they cannot sit still. That dude has not let out his emotions in his whole life. He has learned to keep his brain going, and he will never relax. There's no downtime. They always have to be doing something. And that is the point that and again, this is another great point. Let's say this before we end. It's any kind of stimulation at all, whether that's, drowning yourself in a movie or drowning yourself on your phone or drowning yourself with social media and watching 1,000 TikToks. You can't even remember one of them. Maybe one, maybe. If I scrolled for about 30 minutes, I can maybe recall a few, maybe. And I have a pretty good memory. But that's my point. You're not getting better ever. It's always a dance around the bush. You don't want to be a Lori. Don't dance around the bush like Lori, around the question. At some point, you have to face it. And I'm not saying that it has to be today. But the more that you understand that it's okay to feel the way you feel, and Amy said it earlier, that the emotion is valid, but that doesn't mean that it validates other things. It doesn't mean you get to. Here's my biggest thing I'll say, and it's just the truth. You don't get to be a dick because you were traumatized. You don't get that excuse in life. You just can't. You can't say, well, this happened to me, so I get to be. No, it's like it's just still a choice. Your choices never went anywhere, but the wounds are causing you to think and feel a certain type of way. And I think it's almost an avoidance of just accepting the fact that people make bad decisions. But just because something happened to you does not get to give you the green light to go be crazy. We all make mistakes. We all do things we're not proud of. Everyone has done it. And we need to stop this. Again, this is another thing I always go on about, but it's the truth, because even if it's not for us, like cancel culture doesn't really exist unless you're online or something like that. Usually, like if you're some kind of celebrity or some type of figure to be canceled or unwatched or something. But that idea, the cancel culture, is if someone does something, that is it. They are permanently canceled. And again, obviously there's degrees, of course, but at the same time, we kind of do that to each other. Like one person does something and it's like that's the stick forever, and that person doesn't have the ability to change. But I think that that's crazy. I think people can change, especially when they want to, and they can work through their problems and become a different person. I feel like, not to talk about myself only, but I can honestly, it's like, honest to God, tell you, I feel like a completely different person now. And I can recognize all of the major changes that I've had in my emotional state, in the way that I process things, in the way that I interact. I don't, I used to have a very anxious attachment, and it made me feel as if I needed validation to be loved. And I didn't even know that until I learned it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't need someone to tell me that they love me for me to have value. Oh, and I'm not a, and if someone tells me I'm a piece of crap, that doesn't mean I'm a piece of crap. If someone comes in the comments right now and says, you are this and it's like, okay. But the thing is, I finally found confidence in myself. That's not an arrogance. Cause yeah, I even had that same thing. Cause like I was growing up, I thought if you are confident in yourself, you're almost like haughty, like you're almost like prideful. Like, how do you balance that? How do you not walk around like that dude, acting like you're something you're not? And then life humbled me so much to the point where I don't know. I just don't. I know the difference. I didn't before though. I'm going to answer Love Anyways question, and then I see another one, so I'll try to get on that. How would you label, or what would you call the gut punching feeling of being betrayed by family and close friends? That is one of the hardest emotions for me to process. It is. There really isn't. Sometimes there's not really a word for the complexity of what you feel. Like I said, you have tons of different feelings. You know, tons of different feelings. Oh, Candle's got the that's it. That's the lyric. I'm going to read this and then pull the lyric up for you. Thank you, Candle. You went out and got it. I have a question. But anyway, to answer your question, there's no real word for it. It's a mixture of your emotions. It's a mixture of tons of different feelings. It's betrayal is definitely on there. And it's not easy. Trust me. It's such a shock. You have to process it. But again, that's the point. You put it out on the table and say, I feel betrayed. I never expected someone to betray me. I trusted them. They broke my trust. And then what you can't do is say, I don't ever want to trust anybody ever again. And I could easily understand why people wouldn't trust. I mean, it's very hard for me to trust. I have my ears up on most things, but still, you have to learn that everybody inherently is not bad now, or if someone hurts you, that everyone's going to hurt you, because that's exactly what we're talking about here. You have to process the emotions and not let it run your life. Sheila said, I have a question. What about being a parent of an adult narcissist that uses words of potential self-harm as guilt tactic to avoid accountability for their actions to harm others emotionally? That's very common, unfortunately. It's a very common tactic. It's a complexity, because I don't want to give any kind of it's unsolicited advice here, but you guys obviously know. In my personal opinion, it's a manipulation tactic. They don't actually want to do it. People who use something that serious in front of you to make sure it just immediately is the number one thing that they're not actually serious. They want to scare you. They want you to feel bad. I went and spent a week in the, what's it called? It's the suicide hospital. So I've had my experience in it. And a lot of people I saw, I could see the difference between someone who was genuinely like in a deep struggle, who really doesn't want to, but feels that way and doesn't know how to cope with it. And then there's a difference between that. And then there's like people who use it as a manipulation tactic. I'm going to hurt myself and it's going to be your fault. And that's the thing. Their emotions and their thinking and the way that they do that is not, it's not okay. Just put it that way. It's a manipulation tactic. And narcissism is very complex. It's a lot different than like the TikTok world that we have. We have a new TikTok / Instagram reel, people just throwing words out there without the education. I think that bothers me too. But true narcissism is difficult to deal with, and there's not much you can do, honestly. People have to want to help themselves, but it's unfortunate that people have to deal with the repercussions of other people's actions, especially something like that. That always hurts my heart, that you have to figure out, like, what do I do? Are they really going to hurt themselves? It's your child. You love them. What are you supposed to do in that situation? And I think the best way to handle it is, I think the best way is to go around the part of the self-harm and say, if you are willing and want to talk about where you're at, let's do that. But I'm not going to entertain you with this, I'm going to hurt myself anymore. Because if they wanted to do it, they would have. That's the truth. It's the unfortunate, sad truth. But that's life. That's how life is in all things. If people want to take their life, they're going to plan it, they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in silence, which is really sad, which is why we do videos like this. Because I don't want people, if you're on the verge of that, it's not the move. It's not the way to go. But it does it's very complex. But I hate that people get manipulated by self-harm. That's not okay. I think maybe there's one more question. Maybe I missed it. I missed the other question. Sorry. But yeah, I think what we have to start doing, and again, I'll be honest, like I had to learn how to handle triggers. So triggers is another thing we can talk about. Is people can trigger you, situations can trigger you, but again, that word is also kind of being thrown around very, very easily. Triggers is a real thing. Okay. Some people are just triggered by everything, and I'm sorry to say, but that's just not how life works. It's a real thing that absolutely almost sucks you into a part of your brain that's operating in trauma. And you have to be able to even get to a point where you know how to regulate yourself in triggers. So I'll give you a perfect example. I'll give you a very personal, perfect example. The last few days I've had not stroke-like symptoms, but anytime I have numbness and any kind of feeling that way, it is the number one thing that sets me on panic mode. I get the anxiety in the chest immediately. And then I was doing a bunch of research on it. And the number one thing is, when you might think that something's happening, you have to learn how to like figure out, am I having anxiety and a panic attack, or am I actually having like a stroke? Like, I'm going to differentiate the two, because fear is not going to do me any better. So long story short, I felt it. And if I were to explain it, I felt like maybe this is the best way to explain a panic attack. It literally almost swells into your chest right here, and it feels like you're going to stop breathing. It's almost like comes up, and then it feels like everything's coming down, almost like it's just this feeling of inevitable. And you can stop them. It's possible. You just have to tell yourself you're okay. You have to regulate. And that's the thing that's so crazy for me, to know how to regulate. It just doesn't make sense that I can do it. But I've learned to be aware, identify it. Yeah, I feel panicked. And then just kind of let your shoulders drop. Yeah, I felt scared. Okay. Why did I feel scared? Because of this. Am I really going through something or not? That's kind of how you have to just talk to yourself. Or if you can't talk to yourself, have someone that you trust that you can have a conversation with that can help you regulate, whatever it is. But I do think self-regulation is very important. I'm just going to say it, because there's not always going to be someone there to help you. And you're not alone, but at the same time, like in that moment, you have to learn how to do it. And again, I told you my number one thing too was the MRI. I used to be really claustrophobic. I'm not really claustrophobic at all anymore. But when I was locked in there was just a moment, and I can't really lay flat all the way. That's what triggers the TIAs. I don't know if it's a blood flow thing. Don't ask me. The doctors don't even know. But when I'm completely flat, the blood supply just doesn't do what it's supposed to. And so I was in there flat with a cage over my face, with these headphones blasting Lil Wayne, I think. And there's just that moment, and there's a panic button. But for whatever reason, I just really started freaking out, because I was feeling a little bit of numbness in my right arm. And anytime I feel that, my brain goes to high alert. Like, is the clock ticking? Am I gonna, like, what's gonna happen? Like, what would happen if this, you know what I mean? It's really hard to explain. But long story short, I was it was really coming. Like, it was almost one of those ones I felt like, I don't know if I can not freak out and press the button and need to like get up and breathe. And I completely stopped it by just self-talk. Just say, hey, you're okay. Breathe. You're okay. Take a deep breath, and just keep talking to myself that way. And then just literally breathe, and then just slow the thought process down. And then I just broke it down. Like, you're getting an MRI. You've done this multiple times. You're safe. You're okay. You don't need to freak out. You're not trapped. This is almost over. Like it's just that kind of, it's just like walk yourself through it. Walk yourself through it. I think that's the point. Do you feel so much better after your conversation with Lori? Yeah, 100%. No regret. I feel like I not accomplished something, but just dealt with something that I've been wanting to deal with. Just finally kind of can cross it off of anything of a doubt. Like I left zero doubt. I left zero doubt in my mind. And it is almost a great closure in a sense. It's the best closure I'm going to ever get in my life is how I feel right now, which is I said my piece finally. I told her I didn't believe her. We had a conversation with me looking at her, which probably helped a little bit, maybe because you want to say something to someone's face. But that's it. I don't feel I don't think I ever need to, I don't need to ask her to justify anything. I don't need her to explain it to me. I don't know, just acceptance. Like I said my piece, I'm done with it. I can move forward and focus on the memorials this year, doing the documentary, and then even those two things are going to close the book in a certain way, in a healthy way. So I think that's the number one thing you try to do. You try to just do your best. Do what you think is going to help you and help others, especially if it's like you lost someone. You try to do what's best. But yeah, that's just how it is. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You just take life as it comes. You can't control anything. Do your best every day. And that's a choice. It's a choice you get to wake up every day and make is, am I going to, lay down and cry, or am I going to get up and go? And I think that the more you choose to get up and go, the more proud of yourself you'll be, the more progress you'll make in your life. And the less excuses you make, you'll be baffled by the type of, your mind is everything. I don't even know how to say it. Your mind is your everything. It leads your life. So you have to take some time with it though. You have to take some time and tell yourself, give yourself a gosh dang break. Stop criticizing yourself. Stop saying stuff to yourself that's not good for you. Give yourself an opportunity to keep going. And you can't help what happens in 5 minutes, It's not gonna, but guess what? Thinking about what could happen in 5 minutes isn't gonna change it if it is gonna happen or not. So that's the point. The anxiety doesn't do anything ever. It serves no purpose. Like it doesn't make any sense for people to spend that time on there. I think if I'm being 100% real with you guys, that's all I've ever hoped. Like my situation doesn't have a positive ending or anything. So if I could tell you anything, and this is my most important message of this entire video, is that you can make it and your life will change. And it is a season, even if it feels like it's forever. It's a season, and at some point you'll get to the other side. And it's not that the grass is greener or anything. You're just not in the same place. You walked through the mountain. You walked over it. You went through the stuff. You dealt with it. And then one day you're just in a different place because you did all the traveling. But it feels like almost like when you look back at something like, oh, how did I do that? How did I get through that? It was just one step at a time. And that's it. That's just give yourself the time to do that. Stop trying to figure it all out in one day. Who can? Only God himself could do that. You don't have the ability to figure out. You don't know what's going to happen. You're not calling out Chad prophecies and making up stuff and trying to call dates and stuff like that. It's not how life works. We all know that. So I think it's really important though. I guess another last thing I'll say here on this one is with your emotions, just you really, as much help as you need, you go get it, right? Like if you need therapy and whatever, no shame in that. But I would also really encourage you to really learn how to be good with yourself. That's really, really important. It really does get people to make different decisions. It can dictate, people's dating lives and their work life and what they think they deserve and how they treat themselves and how they talk to themselves. So maybe just get to a place where you understand your feelings and you start to, I don't know, give yourself the grace to feel things, allow your feelings to be there, compartmentalize them, and then find the most healthy ways you can cope with them. It's okay to have fun. It's okay to go do fun things. But if it's an avoidant tactic, you'll get really used to it, and then you'll always try to drown it and it'll still exist. That's all I'm saying. Not to scare you or to make you feel bad about that. But a lot of people who are avoidant are still avoiding it their whole lives. Oh, well, this is like what it's like to be an avoidant. This is no disrespect, but trust me on this one. So here's my emotions and here's me. You still there? All right. Let me give it a year. I've done all this partying and all this stuff. Yeah, you're still there. You're a dick. Let me see if I can. Oh, you're still there. That's what it's like to avoid. That is not going anywhere. It's not to say you can't get better. No, you don't really get better. I'm gonna be honest with you. You don't really get better. You just get better at what you're doing. You're better at pretending you don't know what's going on or avoiding the feeling. That's what you're better at. To face it though, it's not going to be the best thing you've ever felt, but it's also not going to be the worst thing. Let me put that way. It's not going to be the worst thing you've ever gone through. It actually, some of the personal things that I've had to do in therapy is really dive into subjects that I didn't want to. And that was the part, like, because I knew I was going to feel a certain type of way after. I knew that, I just knew that I didn't want to. I was like, hell no, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about my feelings about this subject. I don't want to talk about this subject. Like, I feel that same way too. I'm a human being. It's not like I go in there perfectly ready to just face it and conquer the day. No, I'm always like struggling. I'm like, you know what? I might cancel therapy today because I just don't feel like getting into this shit. I don't feel like feeling the feelings after. I feel like I don't want to bring this up today because I don't want it to weigh me down. And it is easier to not. Of course it is. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not walking in there every day perfect. But when you do give yourself more of an understanding that you need to deal with it, it's almost like just do it. I don't know what else to say. You guys know there's nothing more true than the I'm gonna pull it up. Forget it's not even worth me. It just does me no justice to say it to you rather than to show you exactly. And this is the realest thing ever. This is the realest thing ever. Now that I'm older, like this, I'm telling you to face your feelings. This is what this should be. Okay. Here you go. Whoa. You already know what's coming.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Do it!
Do it. Do it. Just do it, brother. Be like Nike. Just do it. Just face it. Not going to get better without it. Let's put it that way. You're not going to get that much better with avoidance. Let's put it that way. And there's safe places to, you have to find the right person. Take your time finding your therapist. Get healthy. Get a healthy relationship going. And start to open up when you feel that way. But trust me, when the more you put it off, you'll just keep feeling the way you're feeling. Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. Why did I read that on my phone when I have it right here? I love that. You can. That's everybody's favorite scripture too. Everybody's favorite thing is to say that I can do all things. But the rest of the scripture says I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. That's the difference that I always say to people is if you're a believer, you have to understand that God can do some amazing things in your life if you allow him. But God's just like anything else in your life. It's not usually a force. Some things obviously happen, like God does his thing. I'm not going to try to talk for him, but you know what I mean? Like you only like therapy is what you put in. The gym is what you put in. Anything you do in your life is effort. So you just have to give the effort. And then I get it. When you're emotionally exhausted and drained and your whole life is sitting on your shoulders in a backpack and it feels like rocks, you don't even have the energy to deal with it anymore. You've just learned to cope, but you're just a slave to it. And you're not living your best life and you deserve it. Whether you think you do or don't, you do. And that's not just some kind of little Hallmark card that I'm sending you. I'm being dead serious. You deserve to be healed because you don't understand that when you start healing, you won't feel that way anymore. It's actually real. I didn't believe that. I was like, I'm always going to feel this way. I'm always going to feel this way. But I don't hate myself anymore. And that's pretty crazy because I did my whole life. I was like, it's your fault. This is your fault. You did this. You did this. This is everything that ever happened bad in your family's your fault because you're cursed and you cursed them. So even if you didn't do it yourself, through the curse, you have cursed others. Like crazy mental states. It's just crazy to think that way. Everything in the world on your shoulders all the time. Have you thought about college and psychology? I have had so many of you ask me that. I've always thought about helping people. I just don't know when I could go to school again. It'd be really hard for me to like take the time to go to school again, but I would love to. I've thought about all that world because psychology has actually been something I've always been interested in, but also human beings are my number one interest. Just this stuff right here. Like this is the essence of my interest in life is like why is this just not out there? Why are we not talking about being a person? Why? We talk about everything else on the planet Earth except for what we're all going through on a regular basis. And this doesn't make sense to me. But I would love to. I've thought about being a therapist before. My number one goal right now is to create some of the, I guess like a speech almost like public speaking. And just like I have a lot more to say about this kind of thing where it's a very organized way and helping people, but I like to do it in person. So what we're doing right now, I would do anything to have this in person. And I just feel like sometimes I just have this desire more than anything in the world to just really like connect with people and just like let people see, not that I feel that I'm some kind of sight, but I think it is important to let people see that I have healed because they know, you guys know what I've been through. And that's just because it is so public. And I also have shared a lot of that with you, but I think God's doing something through this story it's not about me, if that makes sense. It's not about Colby. It's about that there's an example that someone can go through it and make it. And that's my biggest thing is I know what people are struggling with. I know people are taking their lives, man. You just never know where someone's at. And when I was in my lowest place in the world, I was on YouTube looking for things like this, like genuinely, like anything, any reason to stay alive, any kind of way. I would just needed it. I wanted that. So I want to create a whole network though of therapy for people too. So that's always been a goal of mine. I have a lot of aspirations. I had a lot of aspirations in my life. Yeah, because I absolutely love helping people. I do. Jeff said, Colby, I can't help but wonder if you've ever crossed your mind that you could have ended up losing your life to your mom and her wackadoodles. Hope you don't mind me asking. No, not at all. Of course I thought that. That's why I had survivor's guilt. I thought of why in the world was I not killed and everybody else was. And then the brutal, honest truth is that I didn't have any money. And Lori looked at me as some kind of very important person in her life, an essential figure to her life. Yeah, you got to live with that though. But it doesn't change the fact that I wasn't. And I spent years like almost, what should I, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I'm saying this is almost like, I almost felt as like, would you wish you would have died then? Well, then my kids wouldn't even exist. I couldn't help people. Like there's other things that God's doing in my life, but I was so attached to that thought. Like, why did I live? I'm not a good person that deserves this perfect life to live and get to survive when my little 16-year-old and little 7-year-old siblings don't get to survive. My dad doesn't get to live his life. Like, why do I get to live? And they don't. Yeah, but it's part of the reality of my life. It's part of the truth, is it not? So yeah, I wasn't killed, but I could have been. I would have never seen it coming, just like everybody else. No one knew that they were going to get killed because it's just so out of here. But at the same time, I learned how to separate myself from that situation and say that I have a purpose on this earth, that God's going to do something with it. Not that Tylee and JJ didn't, you know, they did. But God also allows things to happen. And it does. And it's not necessarily, I see people blaming God for everything they're going through. And I'm not one to tell you how to feel about God. You can feel however you want about it, because it's a personal relationship, and you can't tell someone how to have a personal relationship. You can only tell them what, you know. But I will say that he allowed it, and to be mad at him for allowing Lori to do something, they're his. Tylee and JJ, and all of us are his, but Tylee and JJ and Charles and Tammy, they're his. And as horrible as it is, and I'm not saying they shouldn't be here, they should be here. They should be alive. But it did happen. And now that it's happened, what do you do with that? And I think the only thing that you could do in honor of them is live the best life you can, and remember them, honor them the best way you know how. You can only do the best you can do. And then outside of that, I don't know, you just do the best you can. Be grateful. Be grateful for your life today. Don't take it for granted. Because one day you're with your family, and next day they're literally not alive anymore. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen to you. It just is that true. It's like, it's a blink. All of a sudden, everybody's gone, and you're just like in shock. So I think it's a great way to ground yourself to say, yeah, I need to live in the moment sometimes too. I need to be present. I need to be here right now. Bree says, genuine weird question. Do you hear things about Lori in prison, or things that she has sent people, etc., or is that a closed chapter for you? I've heard stuff, obviously. Of course I have. It's not ever, people just tell me stuff in general. So you guys are like an information highway for me. I don't even know what's going on, to be honest with you. I'm that disconnected from like what's happening. I don't know. This is what matters to me. When I'm like online doing stuff, it's pretty much this, or we do the game streams over on Pop Culture Poppy to have fun, or we have the Alpha Made channel for working out. But like, as far as being tapped in, yeah, I'm pretty past it, to be honest with you. I know like Lori has an appeal this next month, things like that. If I don't, I'm just being real with you. If I don't feel like it has anything to be talked about, then I don't need to say anything. I always kind of weigh in what's worth the time of us to even discuss, and is it only going to bring negativity? Are we going to even have a different perspective, or do I just want to say something? You guys have given me a place to do that, which I really appreciate, and a love and a support, but also a place sometimes it's just a vent. Like sometimes I'm just like really frustrated the fact that this appeal says this or something like that, and it's just like, let's just kind of get this out, because again, it's kind of like that's how you should be moving. Is what's the best word to say that? Kind of just if something's bothering you, I think it's kind of like taking a rock out of the backpack and getting it off of your chest or off your back, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of how I see it. But I can't give you guys enough of an understanding that you deserve a good life, and you've got to stop beating yourself up. You got to give yourself a chance. You got to give yourself some grace. You got to give yourself some love, and stop making your life harder than it has to be, and stop blaming yourself for everything. You can't change the past. You can't go back and fix things. This is not the Avengers. You don't have a time stone. So just what are you going to do with it? And I think that's what's holding a lot of people back, is the past. And stop trying to project yourself into the future. It's not wrong to plan. But if that's all you do is only think about the future, then you're not here today, present. You're not here. And that's the part that I see people are just, most of the time, is they can't get over the past. And I'm not saying that it doesn't affect you. It does. But you still have, like, that's what something that I was talking about yesterday, is that like all this stuff happens in our lives, but life just never stops, does it? It's like never going to slow down for you to catch up. So every day life keeps happening and you're sitting there just and feel like you're not going with it. And it's a hard feeling, but eventually you can get out of it. So that's my message to you today. Jeff again says, can I share this with you? The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Exactly. Yeah. And again, I'll end on this. I did not do this by the strength of Colby. I relied on God the entire time. I've had my ups and downs with God in religion. I'll be 100% with you. It's not something I just like. I never doubted God existed or anything of that nature. I got so confused with what Lori was saying and then how I felt about it. And I don't know, just created a prayer life. And that's that personal relationship that I'm talking about. And, I haven't always stewarded it the best. I'm not going to lie to you about that. I haven't stewarded that relationship very well, sometimes because of avoidance of emotions and feelings. And, sometimes it's really hard to pray and know you're going to feel that stuff again. And you just get used to not. And then, one day maybe it just hits you out of nowhere or whatever comes out in therapy, however it comes out. But yeah, I think you really do have to, I have to give credit to God because he's been there for me. And I did feel like the loneliest person on the planet. I felt like the Martian. I really did. I just didn't feel like anybody understood how I felt. I was like, there's nobody who can relate to me. It's not going to happen. No therapist is going to be able to even help me. And there's nobody gets it. And so I'm just alone. And now I'm literally alone. And now I can't be understood, which is a lie. Because again, even if you haven't experienced what I've experienced, we still get each other. That's the point. That's the whole reason we're doing this video is these emotions are the same things with different circumstances and at different levels, but we still get it. Again, that's important to put out there is that we all understand, especially when I see other people who have gone through things or you have empathy for their life or sympathy for them. It's because we all feel the same things. We understand things. And I really want to also, again, you guys know, I'm always trying to help any victim that I can. And that doesn't have to just be people who have gone through court stuff, but I know how that world works, unfortunately, the ins and the outs now. And so try to be a positive person in that realm because it's a negative place to be at, especially with media and stuff like that. Again, great way to close it out right here. Emotions are normal. Exactly. They are normal. Holly says, we prayed for you before we even had a chance to get to know you. I'm so glad you finally found your voice in this community that was waiting for you. Now, I cannot appreciate you guys more. I always cry when I bring you guys up in general, even to you, because again, this is a beautiful thing. You guys are here talking about feelings. You are in the top % of people who will actually talk about this stuff. I'm not even going to lie. It is such a rare thing these days for some reason. People really don't like talking about their feelings. So proud of you. You got this. Yes, you can. You can make it. Do it by 30-second increments if you need to. Do not give up on yourself. Do not give up on your purpose and the reason that you are still here. And I love you. I'll see you guys later, man.